Cambridge Audio, the British manufacturer, has finally come out with a set of wireless active noise cancellation headphones, and I'm really pleased that's the case. Now they're called the Melomania P100s, and they can be found for £229 in the UK, €279, and also $279 in the US. So in this review you can see if they're actually worth their price tag and how they compete with some of their key competitors. So to kick things off, I thought I should talk about connectivity, because it's very much important for you to achieve the utmost audio fidelity from the P100s. Now here you have got Bluetooth with version 5.3 supported. As for the codecs, you have got SBC, AAC, aptX, aptX Adaptive and aptX Lossless, the latter being the best out of the bunch, giving you the lowest transmission loss and therefore the highest audio fidelity. That is, of course, if you can actually support aptX Adaptive or indeed aptX Lossless, because these two are only supported on a finite few devices. In my case, I've got the Honor Magic 4 Pro, which is a pretty new flagship smartphone, and this does not support these two codecs, and instead downgrades me to aptX HD. Now you might be wondering, why didn't I mention aptX HD in the supported codecs list? And that is because Qualcomm and also Cambridge Audio do not list this. Instead, it falls under the aptX Adaptive umbrella. I can safely say, having reached out to Cambridge Audio, that aptX HD is officially supported, and therefore I do think that Cambridge Audio is missing out on a little bit of a trick, because here in terms of the overall marketing, aptX HD is a step up over the vanilla aptX. Now, apart from that, it is disappointing that LDAC and also LHDC are not supported. The reason I highlight this is because LDAC is pretty much universal across any sort of Android device running 8.0 Oreo or above. So pretty much almost every Android smartphone out there now on the market. And this would have given it a little bit of an upper hand over some of its competitors, and would have meant that certain consumers like myself wouldn't have been limited to aptX HD or indeed vanilla aptX, and would have been able to benefit from the likes of LDAC, which is similar to aptX Adaptive and aptX Lossless. Elsewhere, I'd just like to point out that these headphones support Bluetooth multipoint, which effectively allows you to pair up to two different devices simultaneously and therefore seamlessly switch between them. For example, if you have a laptop and also a smartphone. It is worth noting over here that all the Bluetooth codecs that I listed before are going to be supported over Bluetooth multipoint and therefore have got no sort of limitations if you want to use different devices. Now, aside from all those codecs, I would just like to mention that connectivity to the headphones themselves is absolutely excellent. I had no issues whatsoever when I walked roughly 10 to 15 meters away from my source device. Equally, there are no sort of dropouts to notice. As for the overall latency, I also didn't encounter any sort of problems while watching YouTube videos on my smartphone. There is also a game mode that you can enable via the app, which I'll showcase very shortly, and this can reduce the latency. It's quoted at roughly 80 milliseconds from the manufacturer. This can be handy if you're a hardcore gamer, but again, I didn't encounter any sort of lip sync issues, and therefore in my case, I just had game mode permanently disabled. So aside from wireless connectivity, you do also have the ability of plugging them in, and that's actually certainly appreciated. And it's also quite a novelty to see USB Type-C to 3.5mm connection. I've actually never seen this before on a set of wireless ANC headphones, and the P100s are the very first. Indeed, in this respect, I was able to use said connection via my Cord Yugo 2 DAC. And sure, that might be a little bit of an overkill, but it is worth noting over here that even via my pretty beefy DAC, I actually had to ramp the volume up quite significantly. And indeed, they require quite a bit of driving power, at least if you're using said connection. If you do want to negate this altogether, you can use a digital input instead. And this is of course via the supplied USB Type-C to Type-C cable. It would have been great, however, if the manufacturer had also provided USB Type-C to Type-A, or at least a Type-C to Type-A adapter for better sort of compatibility across all devices. Nonetheless, this is something that you can purchase as an additional extra if you so wish. Now, plugged into my desktop computer running Windows 10, it was a plug-and-play sort of experience. And furthermore, I was also able to notice high-res audio playback via 24-bit 96. Now elsewhere, it is also worth mentioning that if you're going to be using a wired connection, these headphones have to be powered on. This might be a little bit of a surprise to certain individuals that use, for example, more traditional headphones and will regularly plug them in via 3.5mm jack, but it's just something I thought I should highlight in this review. So with all that out of the way, let's get on to sound quality. Now first off, you should know that these house a custom 40mm 3-layer Myla driver and have also been matched with a Class AB amplification by Cambridge Audio themselves. It also has got a similar sound signature, at least according to the manufacturer, to their CX lineup, which is their receivers. I actually, funny enough, own one, which is the CX-A61, which is hooked up to a set of Q Acoustic 330i bookshelf speakers. I actually use this on a day-to-day basis and I absolutely love the combo. Now, when it comes to my overall sound assessments, I did them mainly over Bluetooth. Of course, I used a wired connection as well just to test high-res audio playback, but in this respect meant that I was using majority of the time over Bluetooth because this is where I feel that the headphones will be primarily used. Due to my smartphone limitations, I was using the aptX HD codec, so therefore wasn't able to benefit from aptX lossless or aptX adaptive as I did highlight before. Now, when it came to the overall sound quality, I do think it is actually quite similar to the overall sound that the CX range actually provides. In other words, kind of gives you that more of that flatter reference type of sound, but also a bit more excitement across the sound frequency range. So let me actually break it down for you. First off, in terms of the sub-bass tones, they're certainly there. You're going to get that low-end umph, and while it's not overly pronounced and won't extend all the way down in comparison to some of its competitors, it still provides plenty of excitement. Here, when I was facing it with some more challenging bass-orientated tracks, I had no issues whatsoever enjoying some of my favorite music. Similarly over here, when it comes to the overall mid-bass, it's actually pretty punchy and also quite controlled. While it is a little bit overzealous at times, you can actually EQ this if you so wish. Nonetheless, I did find it pretty impressive, and here I felt that the overall sound reproduction in the mid-bass tones will certainly excite a lot of people out there. If you are going to be listening to EDM, dance music, R&B, or for example drum and bass, I think you'll be left pleasantly surprised. Now, the overall mids are a little bit pushed back. Not so much so that I would say it's overly recessed. However, if you do compare and contrast it with some more flagship headphones out there on the market, you will find that the P100s actually do sound a little bit pushed back. If I was comparing and contrasting with the likes of the Sennheiser Momentum Wireless, I actually found that these headphones did a little bit of a better job on bringing vocals to the foreground, while the Melomania P100s just felt a little bit more pushed back. Again, not overly to be concerned about at its overall price point, but just something I thought I should highlight. Now, as for the highs, they extend pretty well and don't feel too fatiguing either. While listening to music at a little bit higher volumes, I didn't feel that I had to take the headphones out after certain numerous hours of actually using them. Indeed, it meant the highs do actually roll off a little bit at the top end, but still give you that sort of toe-tapping feeling, to give you that sort of excitement when you're listening to music, or of course, let's say watching movies or a YouTube video like this one. Now, when it comes to the overall soundstage, this is actually pretty impressive. It doesn't sound too closed or claustrophobic like you'd find on some other headphones out there. While it doesn't sound as open and wide and almost open back sounding like some alternatives out there, I do find that the kind of blend that Cambridge Audio have gone for is certainly appreciated. In this respect, even when I was gaming or with using these headphones, or of course while listening to music, which is what I primarily use the headphones for, I was actually left pretty impressed. There's a good sort of instrument separation, a good sort of imaging and decay, and the overall width and depth just kept me pretty engaged. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say over here is the overall soundstage, and also combined with the overall sound signature of the headphones, is actually pretty exciting and will leave a lot of people with a smile on their faces. So next up we get on to call quality, and everything you hear right now is coming directly from the Cambridge Audio headphones. Now, subjectively, what I'll say is I'm actually left pretty impressed, not only in terms of the overall vocal clarity, but also the fact that my vocals are being prioritized over background sounds. Now, right now we're in a quiet noise environment. However, I'm going to be changing that by facing my bookshelf speakers and playing back a song, which is via Prayer J, and it's titled Like Me. Now, this will just give you a demonstration as to how the headphones would perform in a bit more of a noisy environment. Now, if I just go quiet. So yes, indeed, you might have been able to hear Priya J's vocals in the background, but they're actually pretty low and minimized, and therefore means that your recipient is not going to be thrown off all that much when they're actually taking a call or, of course, receiving a call from yourself. Now, I would just like to highlight, however, that at the time of filming, there's no means of disabling a side tone. For those people who are not aware, a side tone is effectively you being able to hear back yourself while you are talking, almost like a transparency mode. This has its pros and cons, but it would have been great that if Cambridge Audio had provided the option of enabling or disabling said feature via the app. Alas, that is not the case, and therefore you will be able to hear your voice ever so slightly when you are taking a call. Aside from taking calls while on the move, you can also use these as a full-blown headset. And yes, indeed, everything you hear right now is coming directly from the headphones, which are connected via the supplied USB Type-C to Type-C cable. This means that it gives you good sort of versatility if you just want to jump on a call and or indeed chat with some of your friends or family. Now, the only thing to consider, however, is if you're going to be using it in a headset mode, the overall audio fidelity, in other words, the audio sound that you're going to be able to hear yourself, is going to be severely degraded. They almost are like the set of £10 to £30 cheap headphones that you'll find from your local supermarket. So just worth considering that if you're not going to be using them in a headset sort of function, or indeed taking a call, make sure you disable that in order to get the best sort of audio fidelity from the P100s. Now, just for comparison's sakes, I've now got the Sennheiser Momentum Wireless 4s, which are headphones that come in at a similar sort of price point as the P100s. And hopefully you agree with me to say that the Cambridge Audios actually do a better job in giving you better vocal clarity. Specifically over here, when it comes to having any sort of background sound, the Cambridge Audios do a better job than the Sennheisers. Now, yet again, I've got the same sort of music coming from my bookshelf speakers at the same sort of volume, and you might be able to hear Priya J's vocals a little bit more, specifically if I go quiet. So yes, indeed, if you're going to be taking calls on a regular, the P100s actually do a tremendous job, even when compared to some top tier headphones out there on the market. So past the recording quality test, let's talk about active noise cancellation, or ANC for short. And for Cambridge Audio to come out with a set of ANC wireless headphones, I was expecting to be left a little bit disappointed in this department, but thankfully they proved me wrong. These headphones actually do a tremendous job of blocking out exterior noise, indeed with ANC enabled. Here, the overall algorithm does a decent job, and when I compared and contrast them with the likes of the Sennheiser Momentum 4 Wireless, which in themselves are actually relatively good at blocking out exterior sounds, they actually coped pretty well. While they didn't quite compete with the Sennheisers, and equally won't exactly dethrone some alternatives out there on the market from the likes of Bose or indeed Sony, I still do think that Cambridge Audio have done a tremendous job in terms of the ANC department. Combining this with the decent passive noise isolation that I achieved with the seal and the pretty cushiony ear pads, it meant that I was able to listen to my audio in a pretty serene environment. Now, the only caveat is that with ANC enabled, very much like a lot of its competitors, it does slightly degrade the overall audio performance. It pushes back the mid-range just a little bit. It's not too severe, but it can be noted if you're going to be enabling or disabling ANC. So therefore, if you do not need ANC, you might want to disable it in order for you to get a little bit of a better audio reproduction. Aside from that, I should highlight that the headphones do also have a transparency mode. So yes, indeed, other than enabling or disabling ANC, you can also hear your surroundings by a press of a button. This can be quite handy, for example, if you're going to be crossing a road, or if you simply want to converse while still having the headphones on your head. Moving on, we get onto the Melomania app, and through the main interface you can see the battery remaining and also the firmware. You can also tap to go to a user guide. As for the ambient noise control, you've got normal or off, and then on noise cancellation tab, where you've also got high, medium and low. Then you've also got transparency mode, which I just previously referenced. Now, I also love the fact that you've got some preset EQs and also the ability to customize your own EQ. It's good to see you've got a multi-band EQ and therefore showing that good sort of customization and sort of personalization. As for wear detect, you can enable it on and off, and effectively means it will disable or enable the automatic play and pause function. And here you've also got the gaming mode toggle, which you can enable and disable, the audio feedback, which you can have different languages, tones, or indeed fully disable it, and also the auto power off, which you can go between 30 and 60 minutes, or indeed fully disable that as well. Moving on from the app, let's talk about its overall build quality. And here the headphones are available in a black or white finish. They also weigh in at 330 grams, meaning they won't be too heavy on your head. The ear pads are also pretty soft, meaning that even if you wear glasses, they shouldn't cause too much discomfort. However, it's worth noting that the overall clamp force is pretty strong, and it was something that actually took me by surprise. It's not too severe and therefore won't cause too much discomfort, but when I was comparing and contrasting the P100s with some other headphones out there on market, I did find them to be a little bit tighter. This does of course have its pros in the respect that you could potentially use them on intense gym workouts. However, I did find that the top headband did actually sink into my head a little bit, and this is because it's not as well padded as the ear pads, which is a little bit of a shame. Now for you to interact with the headphones, you've got a set of physical buttons. You have got a ANC toggle, you've got a USB Type-C input, and you've also got the ability of going plus and minus, which not only serves as a volume adjustment, but if you were to double tap them, it will also go previous and next respectively. You've also got a play and pause function, and you can of course answer and receive calls. Now another important factor to consider when looking at wireless headphones is battery life, and here you've got a whopping 60 hours claim with ANC enabled and a crazy 100 hours of playback without ANC. Now note these quotes we're using with the AAC codec and come directly from the manufacturer. You will expect roughly 10% less battery life if you're using one of the aptX codecs, so just worth bearing that in mind. Nonetheless, be it with aptX or AAC or of course the lowest quality SBC codecs, that is a crazy battery life to have. Now when it comes to recharging them, you have got a USB Type-C port, and going from 0 to 100% will take you roughly 2.5 hours. You have also got the ability of giving them a quick 5-minute blast of charge, which will give you roughly 2 hours of playback of ANC usage. On that notion, I should point out that these headphones can be plugged in and also simultaneously connected over Bluetooth, therefore meaning that you can also charge them while using them over a wireless transmission, which isn't the same that could be said about the vast majority of other headphones out there on the market that will automatically disable any sort of usage of the headphones when they're actually charging. Thankfully, that's not the case with the P100s, and therefore shows good sort of versatility and thinking by the manufacturer. So with all that in mind, it brings me on to my verdict of the Cambridge Audio Melomania P100s. And truthfully, I've actually been left pretty impressed by what the manufacturer has been able to achieve with their first stab at the wireless ANC market. Sure enough, they're not quite perfect. They haven't got flagship ANC performance, nor the best sort of sound quality even at their overall price point. But given the overall package that you're getting with a set of headphones that have got a nice sort of sound signature and similar to other Cambridge audio equipment, namely the CX receiver line, some headphones that have actually got fantastic call quality, a great sort of design and build quality, good sort of customization and versatility when it comes to connectivity, and also something that is relatively affordable at £229 in the UK and $279 in the US, it means that these headphones can be very much recommended by myself, and of course will be something that you might want to consider when you're looking at a set of wireless ANC headphones. As such, they get my Best Buy award. Now I'd be curious to know what you make of the headphones down in the comment section below, and of course if you've enjoyed this detailed independent review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Totally Dubbed, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.